Alright punters, and welcome back to a new video on Blair White's blog here, obviously covering the Investec derby on Saturday. It's Friday morning at the moment, so I suppose I'm going to give an Oaks small preview, but to be honest it's not going to be that in depth, and the majority of you will probably watch it by the time the Oaks has already finished, so that will be no good to you. Or it might be uploaded by the time the Oaks is finished, so it could be hopeless depending on how my internet plays ball. Anyway, looking back at last week's video, overall we'd not many winners. Too Darn Hot ran a good race in the 2,000 guineas without winning. We had both Decrypt in the 2,000 guineas and Foxtrot Live in the 1,000 guineas placing. That would have been, I'm absolutely furious that I didn't do a Paddy Toomey each way double, because that would have paid out quite nicely. 25s and 40s, the starting prices for the two. So that was quite good. The racing was strong. Phoenix of Spain was really, really good. I couldn't have imagined it, to be honest, but that's the way it is. Anyway, moving on to today's races at Epsom, just the two that I'm going to be covering, the Coronation Cup and the Oaks. The Coronation Cup, it's got a few in here at the top of the market. Kew Gardens, obviously, a big fan of him. Old Persian, very good horse. Lati Dar, good mare. Or is she still a filly? Technically still a filly, but she'll be a mare. Salouen, Mirando, Defoe. It's a very good race. And I found it hard to really press on a horse. I saw last night Kew Gardens was 7-4, and I was very wary of that. I didn't think he was a good price at 7-4, but he's now 5-2, and to be honest, he's becoming a backable price, considering I do think he's the class horse of the race. He should be obviously better for a seasonal debut. A mile 4 maybe is tight for him these days, and that's what swinging people away, because Lati Dar is probably a better horse over a mile 4, Old Persian the same. But I think I would side with Kew Gardens there at 5-2. I think one, again, his price has kind of crumbled, so it's not really an each way price, is Salouen, who ran really well in this race last year, just got knotted on the bob by Cracksman. Won on reappearance. He doesn't win that often, but he's likely to run a good race. He's around 6-1 still. It's not a great each-way price, but he's probably a solid each-way contender. The Oaks itself, I really don't have a big say on. And I've ended up plumping for two at big each-way prices again, like I did with the 1,000 guineas last week. I just don't have a handle on this filly's form whatsoever. There's two Gosden horses in here. Both of them could, I suppose, win. Pink Dogwood could win, although I'm not a big fan of Pink Dogwood, to be honest. And I've decided to take an each-way stab on Manuela de Vega for Rafe Beckett and Harry Bentley, who was second to Medea last time out at Chester and was running on at the end. Hopefully has a chance, and one at a real roughy price is a horse called Tarnawa for Dermot Well. Great to see Dermot Well back in such good form this year and having horses to go to war with in these sort of races. It's a pleasure to see, a master trainer. He was a maiden as a 2-year-old, but came back at a students' race day actually over in Leopardstown, and I lumped in on that 5-4, and he won that day. Went on then to be third in a listed mile 2 race to Pink Dogwood, but then went on to win a Group 3 after that, beating Who's Steph, who's a pretty reliable yardstick for Irish group races. I think she's obviously got a lot to find, but 28-1's a big price. Over to Saturday's action, and really the Derby's the main one here. I don't have much of a say on the other races. The Princess Elizabeth Stakes, I'd say Voracious will be very hard to beat. These are kind of I'm not really looking into them too much. I do quite like the look of Morden in the Diamond Stakes, or Diamede Stakes. God, that could be absolutely butchered. Won a handicap last time out at Haydock for Simon Crisford. Seems to be progressive. The Dash sees a Dennis Hogan horse called Hatik, who's 4-1. He's far too short for that type of a handicap. But that being said, I'd love Dennis Hogan to win a race like that. He deserves it. He's a really good trainer given the horses he has. and I'd love to see that happen, although probably won't be lobbing in myself. The Derby itself, depending on what way you're coming at it, you could think of this as a really intriguing, good derby, or a bit of an average derby, with not many absolute stars out there. I'm a bit in the middle, because it really depends who wins the race. But, going through from top to bottom, Sir Dragonet, I can see why people want Sir Dragonet to win. He's got the pedigree in the book. He was very impressive the 2 times he's won. A lot going for him, Ryan Moore's pick, and he's probably the one that's got the most potential star quality. However, 5-2, he's only won on soft ground. I couldn't be having him at that price. Broome, 9-2. Good horse. I'm a big fan of Broome. I've backed him a couple of times. Backed him on reappearance when he was 5-2 or something like that. That was a very good performance. He was workmanlike last time. He's the type of horse that will run well, but I would just wonder whether he has the class for this race, to be honest, to actually go and win this. And that will be my concern. Like, he's not a Camelot. He's he's actually a son of Australia, but he doesn't have the real class of Camelot or Australia. If he was to win the Derby, it would be like a ruler of the world, a bit more gritty. He's a stout stayer, and I suspect he will run well, but he won't be for me. Telecaster is a rapidly progressive horse, second on debut to Bangkok before winning a maiden at Windsor, I think, and then winning the Dante to 2 Darn Hot. You couldn't rule him out going up again. 9-2, I can see why people are getting on, to be honest. He's not one of my picks. Again, I'm going for each way shouts at bigger prices. But 9-2, I'd see why people would be interested. Anthony Van Dyke was a horse I was quite keen on for this race for quite a long time. He's at 6-1 now, and it's borderline too short, considering I'd like him as an each-way proposition. If he was more of the 8-9-1, he would have been in my 2 selections for this race. He won very impressively on his Lingfield trial start, and I know probably the form of that race isn't up to much, but he won that very cosy. His 2-year-old form, like the majority of his 2-year-old form, if you take out the Breeders' Cup run, is class. He's right in there with the top horses. He always looks like he'd probably stay further. Shamey Heffernan on board. There's a lot to like about Anthony Van Dyke, and I certainly wouldn't rule out a big run. Bangkok is a horse I can't really get behind, to be honest. I don't know why it is. Just the fact that he was a maiden last year. He beat Telecaster, but obviously was a lot more streetwise than him. He won then the Sandown Classic trial. Now, what has he beaten in that race? I'm really not sure. Technician, Persian Moon. Persian Moon's gotten beaten again since. I just don't think it was that great a race. He's obviously a good horse, but is he a Derby winning horse? I'm not sure. And now we get to R2, one of them being Ma Moon. Ma Moon is a horse I've always liked, and I'll be backing him this year, kind of no matter what, where he goes. I've seen the first 3 starts of his career, where he won twice at Leopardstown last year, and then was just touched off in a 7-furlong race at the start of this year, which is obviously too short a trip. The thing with Ma Moon is he's definitely going to be a mile 2 horse. Whether a mile 4 is going to stretch him, we don't know. But he stays more than a mile, I can just guarantee it. He beat Broome in good style as a 2-year-old. He's 10-1. Broome's 9-2, 4-1. I think there's a bit of a mix-up here, to be honest. Chris Hayes is a great jockey. Kevin Prendergast, legendary trainer. It would be great to see it happen. And I was circling around these O'Brien horses at the bigger prices, because I think they've got a chance. And I was between Japan and Circus Maximus, and I've ended up plumping for Japan, just because he had the edge on 2-year-old form. This is a very good horse, I think. Came 7th in a Curragh Maiden, which is always the case. Then won a Listowel Maiden before winning the Beresford Stake to Mount Everest and Power of Now. On reappearance, he wasn't great. He was 4th to Telecaster, but it just screamed like a race where he hadn't been properly cooked for, to be honest. he ended up kind of staying on quite well in the end. And that was over a mile too. I think this is a horse that really needs this mile 4 trip. Wayne Lorne's in the saddle. Wayne Lorne's already won a classic this year for an Aidan O'Brien 3rd or 4th string. That wouldn't put me off at all. I think this horse is getting quite overlooked considering of his 2-year-old form, and then that run at York wasn't as bad, I don't think, as people are trying to make it out to be. He's 10-1 now. He has been backed a little bit from bigger prices, and I still think he's good each way price at 10. The rest, the only ones I'd actually consider would be Circus Maximus, who was very close to getting my selection. Again, solid 2-year-old form, involved with Magna Graecia and Persian King in Newmarket and Doncaster runs respectively, and Phoenix of Spain in that Doncaster run. The first step up in trip was in the D Stakes over a mile 2.5, where he beat Mohawk. That leaves a lot to be desired, to be honest, that form. But Frankie Dettori in the saddle could go all right. Norway was second to Sir Dragonet in the Chester Vase. He's a big price at 33s, but he does have 8 lengths to find. Line of Duty, flopped in the Dante. Humanitarian should be probably not good enough. Sovereign has been making up the places behind Broome, and Hiroshima surely can't win the Derby. So I can see the point for a lot of these horses, but I've ended up going for Moon and Japan each way, both around the 10-12-1 mark. Hopefully 3 or 4 places available on the day. Anyway, if you guys enjoy this video, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel down below. And obviously give me your thoughts on the Oaks and Derby and who you think is going to win. And obviously, if you're watching this after the races have taken place, what did you think of the winner? Will it be the regally bred Sir Dragonet, or are we going to be onto something in terms of an each-way squeezer? I'll see you next week.